evening, everybody, and welcome to the second live stream of the day. Please let me know if you can hear me okay. This is, again, using this new streaming software that I've only used once before. So please let me know in the comments if you can hear me okay, if you can see me okay. I was going to try and do another live stream perhaps tomorrow, but this news came in while I was out protesting, and I thought I had to come on and give you guys this update about Scientology's IAS marquee. The IAS is the International Association of Scientologists. Every year, Scientology hold this annual gathering of the IAS at St. Hill, Scientology's UK headquarters. And we have a little bit of an update. But first, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. We have Danielle Chamberlain in the house saying hello. We have Mary Kay London. Hello from New Mexico. Leanie is in the house saying it's 2 lives in one night. Oh, yeah, let's go. I'm back in the UK now, so we got to keep on moving at a rate of knots. We have Mark the Dorset SP in the house. We have Karen here saying hello all. John saying hi. Xenuite. Howdy, I'm back from earlier. And the wonderful Jeff is in the house. PTS for life. Hello, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining. It's been a while. Hello, Danielle. Yep, life is super busy right now, I can imagine. Good to see you here. We have Once a Witness Vernon here saying hello, Alex. Petrina confirming that sound and vision is all good. Fantastic. Thank you. And Xenuite, thank you for your kind words in the comments there. Dragon Mad as well, saying, go, Alex. Yes. All right. So a little bit of context. We're going to get into the weeds in this stream. So I'm going to give you some context and we're going to read through a council document. The IAS, International Association of Scientologists, annual gathering, as I just explained. Every year at St. Hill, Scientology's UK headquarters, they have this big gathering where thousands of Scientologists attend from all over Europe. They come and hear David Miscavige, the leader of the church, speak at this big lavish gala. It's a 3-day affair. It happens on the weekend in October. The date is usually in line with the anniversary of the founding of the IAS. It is the largest fundraising event in Scientology's calendar every year. And they don't have enough space at St. Hill to host this event. So they put up this huge temporary marquee in the garden. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. And all of this is with the context of, let's not forget, Scientology have been trying their damnedest to ban protesting outside St. Hill every year. I say every year, 2 of the years there have been protests. In the last 6 years, there's only been 2 protests that I helped organize, and a big group of us showed up. We stand outside with our banners saying it's time to end abuse in Scientology. Scientology applied for a public spaces protection order to try and ban protesting outside this event, which failed. Mid-Sussex District Council said that there was no grounds for such a ban to be put in place because our protests were lawful, peaceful, kind and compassionate, and Scientology definitely had egg on their face. Now, another thing that I've been pursuing is the fact that they put up this large marquee in their garden. As per UK planning law, you are allowed to put up a temporary structure of less than 100 meters squared in your garden on your premises without requiring planning permission, as long as it's there for less than 28 days. Now, Scientology's marquee is something like 4,000 square meters. It is huge. It is like 30 or 40,000 square foot, if I remember correctly. It is a huge marquee that hosts 3,000 to 5,000 people for this large event, and they've never applied for planning permission for it. It's only there temporarily, but they put this marquee up, they hold the event, and they take it down. But that is in breach of planning laws because they don't apply for planning permission for it. Even though it's temporary, it is larger and it is there in place for longer than the exception or the exemption allows under planning law. So last year, the Church of Scientology received a planning contravention notice from Mid-Sussex District Council saying, hey, you guys don't have permission to put this marquee up every year, and you need to apply for planning permission in order to put it up next year. And instead of applying for planning permission, Scientology applied for what's called a Lawful Development Certificate, an LDC. Now, in the UK, there is an exemption to planning law, which is called the 10-year rule. Essentially, in a nutshell, if you build something on your land and it has been there in situ for 10 years and it hasn't been concealed and there has been no planning action taken against it and you don't have planning permission for it, you can get an LDC, a certificate that basically says you are allowed to keep this building in situ, because even though you didn't apply for a planning permission, it's been there for 10 years and therefore it's allowed. So Scientology applied for an LDC and said that the use of the land, the marquee, has been there for more than 10 years, and therefore they don't need planning permission in order to put the marquee up. And that application for an LDC is what we found out today has been refused by Mid-Sussex District Council. We're going to look at the documents here. This is a major win for us as protesters, as an ex-Scientology community, because what it means now is Scientology are running out of options. They have to apply for planning permission if they want to put the marquee up in order to build, in order to host this event in October this year. Planning permission takes a long amount of time. And I've always said it's likely they would get planning permission if they applied for it. I would support planning permission because there's no reason why they can't put up a temporary marquee in their grounds for an event once a year. In fact, if they do it through the right channels and they play by the same rules as the rest of us, I have no objection to it. The reason I'm objecting to this at the moment is because they don't follow the rules. They think they are entitled to put this marquee up, and because they don't apply for planning permission, they don't have the required inspections, regulations, and all of that. There's no duty of, not duty of care, but there's no checks and balances to make sure that the building is put up safely, that what goes on in the building is lawful. And things like fire exits and escape routes and, music and all of this, these are all licensed things that need to be considered, as well as the area of outstanding natural beauty that the premises is located in. All of these things are circumvented because they don't apply for planning permission. If they'd applied for planning permission, they would probably get it, and that would mean the council would inspect, they would make sure all those things are done, and I would support that. The reason I have a problem with their marquee is because they don't play by the rules, and this is evidenced by the fact that they tried to make the case that they don't need planning permission because it's been there for 10 years, and the news is that that has failed. So let's have a look at the first document here from Mid-Sussex District Council. This is the decision notice: refusal of certificate of lawful use or development existing. The Mid-Sussex District Council hereby certify that on the 19th of May, the use described in the first schedule hereto in respect of the land specified blah, 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 for the following reasons. It is considered that there is insufficient clarity in the evidence supplied, such that the applicant has not demonstrated there has been a continuous pattern of use for a period of 10 years or more as applied for. On the basis of the dates set out in the statutory declaration, the temporary use started in October 2005 and took place on a yearly basis until October 2012, 8 years, then ceased until October 2014, a gap of 2 years. The temporary use resumed in 2014 until 2019, 5 years. It ceased 2019 to 2023, a gap of 4 years, and then it resumed in October 2023. So what this is referring to is Scientology's case was, we've been holding the IAS event here and building this marquee every year since 2005. Therefore, the 10-year rule exception applies. And the council here are saying, you haven't had the marquee there every year for 10 years, and there is insufficient evidence of why your case for the 10-year rule is acceptable. It goes on. There has been no continuous use for a single 10-year period. Further, in relation to the assertion of continuity during pandemic, so Scientology made the case that because of the pandemic, they couldn't hold the event, and therefore that should not be considered as a break. And the council is saying there is no legal authority that we are aware of which suggests that COVID restrictions suspended or amended the expiry of time for acquiring immunity from enforcement. Photographic evidence does not support the assertion that a marquee has been erected in the field every year since 2005. The photographs have no external or internal evidence to show what year, month, or day they were taken. There is no evidence of the location at St. Hill on Hobbsfield. The photographs could be of marquees anywhere in the world. Further, in some cases, it cannot be determined that the photograph is of the inside of a marquee. The statutory declaration does not demonstrate that the trustee, i.e., the applicant, the Church of Scientology, has first hand knowledge of the matters in the declaration or how they came by that knowledge. The erection of the marquee is said to take several weeks, and dismantling and restoration takes about a month. The use of the marquee occurs approximately 1 week. Elsewhere, the application says the event lasts for 5 days a week. There is a lack of consistency and precision in the application documents about the duration of the use of the field during the annual event. If we conservatively take several weeks to mean 3 weeks, 21 days, plus 3 days for the event, plus 1 month for dismantling and restoration of 30 days, this shows a period of use of 54 days. So the council here are calling out Scientology for their lies. They are looking at the application and saying that your application doesn't make sense. You are contradicting yourself, and this is fantastic news for us that the council are actually calling out Scientology. Now, let's have a look at some of these comments before we go on. Once a witness says, question, which city in the UK is most affordable to visit in the UK? That is a question that's completely off topic. The UK is very expensive. London is one of the most expensive places in the UK. Anywhere in the north will generally be cheaper. Newcastle, Sunderland, Manchester will be cheaper, but we're not a cheap country, unfortunately. Mark the Dorset SP says, a question is, can the temporary structure be allowed in the curtilage of a grade 2 listed building as some PD rights are removed? Yes, this is something to consider. The St. Hill Manor, which is the big manor house on the grounds of St. Hill, is a grade 2 listed building. And there are rules around whether you can or can't build things in the vicinity of a grade 2 listed building. And that is referenced in these reports. Becky, Big Brother fan, says, congratulations, thank you. Christy says, are any fees they've been dodging by not applying to the commission all this time? Well, yeah, they would be dodging the fees for not applying for planning permission. But once you have planning permission, you have it indefinitely. So it's actually probably cost them more money to do it this way than if they'd have just applied for planning permission. It doesn't really make sense. Amy M says, this sounds like the fight that at Los Angeles public works meetings that we call into. Yes, this is something that has been ongoing for well over a year. I've been championing this cause and talking about it on my channel. And all the power to everybody who speaks up to local law enforcement and government agencies and asks them to hold Scientology to account. Becky, Big Brother fan, says lack of consistency regarding what Scientology says. Surely not. I know you couldn't make this up. Okay, let's have a look here. This is the report about the LDC. We're going to read through maybe the whole thing, maybe not. We'll see. Let's see how repetitive it is. So this is the council's report. Summary of representations. There are 2 letters of objection. One of them says, I've recently been made aware of the Church of Scientology's application for an LDC for their 45,000 square foot marquee used to host the annual gathering of the IAS. As a former member of the church, I wanted to express my concerns. The church claimed the land has been used for 10 years. Blah, blah, blah. We're not going to read all the representations because it's just people complaining about the fact that it doesn't meet the criteria. There was 1 letter of support which said, I see no issues with this, and as this brings positive attention to East Grinstead, we shouldn't be objecting to their plans. They provide and support the community with events that most enjoy and or look forward to. Well, I don't think this is positive attention that it's bringing to East Grinstead, would be my comeback at that. The amount of press that these events have caused are mostly around the fact that people don't want their town to be used for the largest fundraising event for the most controversial so-called religious group on planet Earth. There are no statutory requirement to consult on an application for an LDC, but of course people did respond. The town council, East Grinstead Town Council, said no comment. Relevant planning history, it talks about the other applications that have been made on the land and for the castle and the manor and so on. Site and surroundings. The red-lined site forms a part of a field parcel. That's the point, actually. Let me share that because I think it gives you guys a bit of context as to the place that we're talking about here. This is the map that was attached to the decision from above. So what you can see here on the right hand side is the Saint Hill Castle. Over here you can't see it because it's slightly off the map, but that's the main Saint Hill Road over here, and this is the big field in which the marquee is located, and this coloured area is where the marquee is located. It's actually 3 marquees that they put up, but there's one main one which is used to host the event. So this is referencing a slightly different map, but it shows the same area. The red line site forms part of a field parcel known as Hobbsfield, located immediately west of a group of buildings centred around the castle and St Hill Manor that comprise the UK headquarters of the IAS. The main access is gained from the northeast off St Hill Road. The field is open in character on an elevated plateau, with land levels dropping gently from northeast to southwest. The eastern perimeter has an access track running alongside. This sounds like a book, doesn't it? The northern boundary is enclosed by North Wood, containing 2 ponds, the western part of which is designated as ancient woodland. In policy terms, the site is located within the countryside and within the High Weald area of outstanding natural beauty. It is also within 7 kilometres of Ashdown Forest. St Hill Manor is a Grade 2 listed building. The application seeks an LDC under Section 191 of the Town and Country Planning Act. It is asserted that the use in question involves the annual erection of large temporary marquees on the land for the purposes of hosting the IAS event. The marquees are erected each year for the IES event in October and in 1 year at the start of November. And this, guys, is my favourite part of the whole thing. The erection takes several weeks. Oh, no. Captain Davy, I would see someone about that if it takes you several weeks. The erection takes several weeks. Including rehearsals, the actual use occurs for approximately 1 week. Dismantling and restoration of the land takes about a month. The applicant goes on to state why a Lawful Development Certificate should be granted. This is what Scientology said. The annual event has occurred on the land since October 2005, consistently in the same format and for the same purpose. The only exceptions to this continuous pattern were involuntary ones. The use has been ongoing for a period exceeding 10 years and therefore, due to the passage of time, should be allowed. The application form states that the use began on the 30th of October 2005 and acknowledges that there have been interruptions. It follows the only exception to this continuous pattern occurred in 2013 when, although preparations were started, the main marquee was not available in time. And also, I just want to point that out. That is a slight lie. That's what we call in Scientology an acceptable truth, because the marquee was not available in that year because they had sent the marquee over to flag their headquarters in Clearwater, Florida, because they held the event overseas that year. So it's true that it was not available, but it's slightly bending the facts here. And during 2020 to 22 due to the pandemic. In respect to the break of the use, it says here that because of the pandemic, blah, blah, it should be allowed. The application does not give details of the legal authorities relied on. The application has been accompanied by a statutory declaration from a trustee of the applicant with an address in East Sussex. The statutory declaration exhibits visual and photographic material asserted to have taken every year. Each year, the IES event was held over those years. However, the statutory declaration does not say who took the photographs and does not claim first-hand knowledge of use during this period. And I'm going to show these pictures with you because I think it's interesting to look at these in reference to this. Now, it talks about the legalities. It says here that, you have to ascertain whether the land was being used and so on. The application appears to elide use and operations together because those are 2 separate things in the legislation, and treats the erection of the marquee as the planning use of the field applied for rather than as a separate head consisting of operational development of the field. It's talking about the legalities here that we don't need to get into. If you want to read this, it's on the Mid-Sussex District Council website. The courts have held that the relevant test of the evidence is the balance of probability, and the case FW Gabitas v SSE and Newham LBC held that the applicant's own evidence does not need to be corroborated by independent evidence in order to be accepted. If the local planning authority have no evidence of their own or from others to contradict to otherwise make the applicant's version of events less than probable, there is no good reason to refuse the application, provided the applicant's evidence alone is sufficiently precise and unambiguous to justify the grant of a certificate. Section 191 also indicates that if on an application under the section the LPA are provided with information satisfying them, the use of operations described in the application would be lawful. If instituted or begun at the time of application, they should issue a certificate. The onus of proof is firmly on the applicant, i.e. Scientology, and the standard of proof is the balance of probability. If there are contradictions in the applicant's evidence on material issues, then the local planning authority would be entitled to refuse the certificate. As set out above, the application form asserts that the event takes place over 3 days, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, culminating with a charity event on the Sunday evening. The erection of the marquees, used 3 times in plural, takes several weeks. The actual use, including rehearsals, is for approximately 1 week. Dismantling and restoration takes about a month. Little detail is given about the event other than a flyer from 2014, the 30th anniversary event, noting that on Friday at 5:30 p.m. there was a dynamic multimedia presentation of awards for exemplary charitable work, reception and entertainment. And on Sunday, a gala charity concert benefiting East Grinstead Town Museum and British Exploring Society, and an evening hosted by a very special guest and featuring top international performers. It is not clear from the evidence that it supports the F1 use description being applied for, rather than use asserted appears to be a temporary event / sui generis use. Photos, and then it goes on to talk about these photos. Now, I'm going to share my screen and show you these photos that were supplied, and I'm going to read the comments as per each photo. So this one is 2005, and the comments from the council are: a photograph labelled 2005 shows standing people formally dressed in a tent clapping. The label does not say if this was the Friday, Saturday or Sunday. There is no evidence of location at St Hill on Hobbs Field. It could be anywhere. 2006. Oh, look, it's the Jive Aces. We were just protesting them. A photograph labelled 2006 shows a brass band playing and a large television screen in what could be a marquee or a building. It does not show the audience. It does not say if this was Friday, Saturday or Sunday. There is no evidence of location at St Hill on Hobbs Field. It could be anywhere. 2007. A photograph labelled 2007 shows the outside of a building with a pipe band playing, being watched by a number of people. There is a white marquee in the background of the building. It does not say if this is a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. There is no evidence of location at St Hill or Hobbs Field. It could be anywhere. 2008. A photograph labelled 2008 shows people on stage with a band behind them and outlines of an audience in the foreground. It does not say if this was Friday, Saturday or Sunday. There's no evidence that there's tent or marquee, no evidence that there's St Hill. It could be anywhere. You guys get the point. It goes on and on and on with every photo that has been submitted. The council have said the same thing. It doesn't say what day it was. It doesn't say that it was in a marquee. There's no evidence to suggest that it was at the field located that they are applying for. And there's no evidence. It could be anywhere is the response for every single photo that Scientology supplied to the council. It could be anywhere. It could be any year. 2013, there's no photographs, and they explained why. 2014, no evidence of location at St Hill. It could be anywhere. A flyer labeled 2014 is advertising the IAS. It advertises that it's going on, but it does not say what was happening on the Friday. 2015, no evidence of location at St Hill. It could be anywhere. 2016, no evidence of location at St Hill. It could be anywhere. Guys, this is a major flap for Scientology. 2018, a picture, but not sure what we are looking at. Let's have a look. 2018. What was that photo that they supplied? 2018. Oh, here we go. Uh, Share my screen this way, and then I'm going to need to flip this round. This was 2018. It shows the refectory next to the castle at St. Hill, and you can just about see the tent on the right-hand side. How funny is that? The council's official comment was that we're not sure what we're looking at. I thought that was brilliant. Well done to Mid-Sussex District Council. Becky, Big Brother fan, saying each photo and description flunk. Yeah, exactly. 2023, it says a photograph shows a large group of people standing facing a stage on what appears to be a marquee. However, there's no evidence of the location at St. Hill. It could be anywhere. Again, for 2024, no evidence. It could be anywhere. The evidence within these photographs has not been corroborated by any other parties, and without any familiarity with the content of the events that are depicted, it is not possible to verify them. Only the photographs from 2007, 2015, 2017, and 2018, in brackets 2016 is too blurred, show a large marquee in context with the existing castle building. All other photos have no locational information. It is also not clear whether the structure depicts the interior of a marquee and whether the same marquee, capacity and dimensions, was used, or whether more than one marquee was used. Because one of the arguments that was made by somebody who wrote in is that there's no evidence to suggest the marquee they erect every year is even the same one. It could be a different size, it could be in a different location, and there's no evidence to suggest that it's been the same structure every year for the last 10 years. Let's carry on here. It goes on, third-party evidence. Comments from both objectors state that a marquee is 45,000 square foot and the event takes place every October, and the marquee is in place for a few months each year or intermittently. One states constructed during the summer and removed in November. One comment states that there is no evidence that the marquee has been constructed every year over the last 10 years, is the same size, or is in the same location. It goes on to state, although the structure is used to host a charity concert, that is just one day out of several weeks or sometimes months that the building is in place. Although the charity concert may be attended by a relatively small number of local residents, the main purpose of the building is to host a fundraising event for the Church of Scientology. And for the context, at the last IAS event, just £50,000 was donated to local charities, but tickets for the Patrons Ball on the Saturday alone brought in £1.2 million for IAS administrations, and money raised during the Friday IAS event itself. And under the Town and Country Planning Act, the 10-year rule is defined by beginning of the date, blah, blah, blah. It has to be there for 10 years. The structure is supplied and built annually by an outside company, and there is no evidence to show, due to lack of previous planning applications, that the structure is the same size or dimensions. Conclusion. Overall, it is considered that there is insufficient clarity in the evidence supplied, such that the applicant has not demonstrated there has been a continuous pattern of use in the field or for the erection of a marquee for a single continuous 10-year period. The evidence in the statutory declaration and photographs is vague and has been doubted and not been corroborated by third parties. Therefore, on the balance of probabilities, it has not been demonstrated with sufficient precision and unambiguity that an F1 use of the land has taken place for a continuous period of 10 years to justify a lawful development certificate. Accordingly, the LDC should be refused. Decision, refusal. So there we have it. Scientology have failed in their attempts to circumvent planning laws in order to get a lawful development certificate for their IAS marquee. This is a big win for us. And all this means is that Scientology now have to play by the rules. They have to apply for planning permission for the marquee this year. There will be a consultation period. There will be assessments. People will have to look at whether the marquee is damaging to the local environment. It will look at the impact of the marquee on the local population, the community, and it will assess whether or not a marquee is relevant. if they are rejected planning permission, they will have to hold their event elsewhere. What a shame. So that's the news, guys. Big win for us. Mid-Sussex District Council are finally wising up to Scientology's tactics and calling them out for their vague, their ambiguous statements, their lies, and their mentality that they are above the law. Scientology are not above the law. They have to play by the same rules as the rest of us. And this is just evidence to show that they are not doing that. Let's have a look at some of these comments. Danielle Chamberlain, I don't know why they just don't hire somewhere. They used to use Effingham Park. Yes, that's the thing. They could hire a real permanent venue to host this event that would be better suited, that would have less impact on local traffic and the local community, and would be better for everybody. And they wouldn't need to apply for planning permission for it. Hartley Patterson said, I'd be happy to testify that there was a marquee when I protested there. Absolutely. And again, I will back up Scientology's case and say that the marquee was there in 2023 and 2024, but I cannot attest to the fact that the marquee was the same size. And regardless of whether it was there or not, it was larger than the 100 meters squared required that is allowed without planning permission. They need to apply for planning permission. And that is the ruling here that the Mid-Sussex District Council have come to. Mark the Dorset SP says a certificate of lawfulness should be the most easiest application to apply for. Yes, and even though it was the easiest one, Scientology messed it up, or rather, Scientology's lawyer, Mr. Hodkin. Frangipane says, you gotta love the person at the council. That is amazing. Very scientific, I would say. Absolutely. Love it here says, holy crap, is the council finally wising up? It appears they are, and this is only the result of our activism, of our efforts as a group, as a community of survivors, and as a protest group. So well done, everybody involved, and thank you, everybody who has stood by me throughout this process and helped with this whole thing. Becky, Big Brother fan, says David's annual erection has been denied. Yes, Captain Davies' annual erection takes several weeks, and it is unwanted. His unwanted erection has indeed been rejected by the council. Cindy and Rico says, do COS not understand the word continual? Well, clearly they don't, and maybe they need to do some word clearing. Maybe Mr. Hodkin, the lawyer for Scientology, needs to do some word clearing on the word continuous or continual. It's in the dictionary. I'm sure you can find it. It's under the letter C, and you can read up what that means. Linda says they picked the wrong ginger to mess with. Absolutely. Frangipane says, so I assume they will build it anyway. What can happen then? Now, this is a great question to bring this to a close, is what does this mean? This means that Scientology have to apply for planning permission if they want to build the marquee this year. I expect they will do that. Whether or not they will be granted planning permission before the IAS event in October, I don't know. It will take time to review and to go through that process. It's possible they will hold off on applying so that they can do the event this year and then try and apply for retrospective planning permission. Because if they apply now and it goes through the process and then they are rejected planning permission, then if they put the marquee up this year, they will get in lots of trouble. So knowing Scientology and the fact they like to play these games, I think it's highly likely they will try and protest this. They will appeal this decision, try and string that out as long as possible, and then apply for permission and then put the marquee up while that planning permission application is being considered. I expect that's what will happen so that they can get away with doing the event this year. But we shall see. Who knows? I'm just guessing here. But either way, if they don't have planning permission, they will be fined. They will be in trouble, and they certainly won't be allowed to do it next year. So my guess, my educated guess, is that they will Try and string this appeal out for as long as possible, then apply at the last minute so a decision won't be made before the IAS event in October. That means they can get away with doing the event and claim that they have submitted an application, it's being reviewed, and therefore the council won't look too lightly on the event taking place, but they won't be necessarily fined for contravention because they are waiting for permission. That's my guess, but we shall have to wait and see. Liz Gale's in the chat saying, SP Gingers Unite. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining, Liz. So, guys, that's the update from me. I'll put the link to this document in the description just after the live stream finishes. This is a big win for us. I hope everybody celebrates. It is a Friday night. Enjoy your evenings. If you want to support the channel and everything that I've been doing as an activist, please consider using the Buy Me a Coffee or the PayPal links down below. All of that helps me educate myself and seek legal advice where required, and keep going with this battle. So I really do appreciate all of the support. But the best way is to press that like button, to comment, to subscribe, all that sort of stuff. And I also wanted to shout out all of those who have been part of this protest group that has helped with the rejection of this application. Everybody who submitted comments, people who have been keeping in the loop and been standing there protesting alongside me for the last 2 years. I really appreciate it. And there's a lot of people working behind the scenes that don't necessarily want their faces known on YouTube that have helped in this cause and are helping every single day. So thank you to those of you who have been helping. That's it from me for now. Stay tuned. There's more coming over the next couple of weeks. And thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one.